Right. Well, it's great to have everybody here today. Thank you for joining AutoLeap for the monthly webinar. I'm going to start first with some short housekeeping before we get started. We are recording this session, so you will receive slides and recording most likely tomorrow after everything gets all set. I would also like to mention that we welcome your questions throughout the conversation. So you'll see at the bottom a comment section and Q&A section. So I will do my best to kind of weave them throughout. But if I don't, then I will pose them at the end. And lastly, before we begin, following the webinar, you'll receive a short 1-minute survey regarding today's webinar. By completing this webinar, we will send you a $20 Amazon gift card, which is perfect right before the holidays. AutoLeap hosts these webinars to bring aftermarket insights and wisdom to you monthly with none other than industry experts. So your feedback is super beneficial to us. We definitely use that in your recommendations. Without further ado today, I welcome guest speaker Alan Beech from Beech Consulting. And while I usually start by shining light on our speaker's background, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Alan so that he can tell his story and experience with you. Alan, I know for me personally, listening to your story and you telling me, while I don't have a shop, nor have I ever owned one or anyone in the family ever owned one, your story struck a lot of chords with me because it's one of humanity and great courage. So welcome, and we're super excited to have you.
Great. Thank you, Amber. And it's exciting to be here. I'm a believer in what AutoLeap is doing. So I want to start by telling you my story. And I grew up in a very small town. I grew up the son of a pastor. And when I was 10 years old, my dad died. And it left my mom and I had two older brothers, but they were quite a bit older and they were gone from the house. And it left me with my mother. And my mother had always relied on my dad to do everything. And all of a sudden, it was just the two of us. And as you can imagine, we had very little money. We were left with a house, and that was about it. We had payments on the house. And we were left with an old car. And that car broke down all the time. And I can remember the sheer frustration of my mom in trying to deal with a car that would break down. And I can remember how a mechanic stepped into the family to help. He owned a shop. He was a shop owner, and he stepped in and he started to help. And I remember how we relied on him. And I remember how it was so essential that he would, I'm sure he did lots of things for free. And that's not what I'm proposing, because shop owners have to make money. But he also stepped into the gap to provide the support. And I remember when I first became a shop owner thinking, that's one of the roles that I have to do. I have to help people. And that was one of the real privileges I had while I was a shop owner. So let me, oops, I'm sorry, my computer is dinging us. So let's go ahead and let's get into the webinar, and I'll tell you a little bit about my history. So I started my automotive career. I pumped gas when I was 16, and when I was done college, I went to work for Goodyear. I worked for them for about 13 years. Worked through all different types of jobs. I started changing tires. I ended up being a zone manager in charge of 23 stores for them. And one day they came to me and said that they were selling all the stores, and it was my job to sell the stores in my zone. Well, I bought one. I ran it, I had it for close to 22 years, and what a joy that was in my life to run a shop. Doesn't mean it wasn't a tough time, and there was lots of things to learn and lots of financial challenges, and I almost went under a couple of times. But I also, the business grew, and I took down the Goodyear signs, and we specialized in German cars. During that time, I was able to start a tire storage company that stored off-season tires. It stored winter tires for a whole bunch of garages and dealerships. At its peak, it actually was the largest tire storage company. and we did $6 million a year in tire storage. During this time, I was also able to start a consulting company. This is the joy of my life, in being able to help other shops in helping their businesses. Because what I find, if we could go to the next slide, Amber, what I find is the majority of technicians, I'm going to ask a question in just a moment. The majority of technicians, or the majority of shop owners, are oftentimes technicians, and they start saying, Michael Gerber calls it the entrepreneurial seizure, where the technician looks at the shop owner and he says, he's making all this money. How come I'm not making as much money as he is when I know how to do it? I'm the backbone of this business. And since I know how to fix cars, therefore I should know how to run a business that fixes cars. And there's a fatal flaw in that whole thing. The business is different from the job of fixing cars. So let me ask the question, how did you start in the industry?
All right, so while I get that up, we're gonna launch it. Let's see, did it relaunch? Here we go. Let's see, how did you get started in the auto repair industry? Allow everyone to join. Sign in. Oh, this is interesting. And it's exactly what you're saying. I'm gonna give it 2 more seconds. All right, so majority is as a technician. So 75% of the audience came in as a technician, some from family business, and we had 13% purchased on own, no prior experience.
Right on.
Yeah.
So one of the fatal flaws, and I don't mean to pick on technicians, but there's a belief in technicians that if I have a fair price and I just pull the wrench faster, that I can make more money. And I'm here to help with that there's a ton more. And in fact, when you slow it down, there's actually a huge win out of it. So I want to talk about the huge win, and I want to talk about customer satisfaction. The Harvard Business Review did a study, and they asked the question, does customer satisfaction lead to loyalty? Okay, so if you just satisfy your customers, will you have a loyal customer base that grows? And the study showed that customer satisfaction means nothing. Okay, it's a neutral term. It's not one that grows your business. However, when the customers talk about your business with emotion, and they talk about it from a point of view of they endorse your business, and they use terms like, I have confidence in that shop. That's the only business that I would ever deal with. It develops a relationship of, where they say, this shop is central to who I would go to. I would not go anywhere else. And when they start to have that relationship, that's where it grows, because the customer is using emotion when they talk about your business. And that's the difference. So let's talk about, let's put an example up there of a business that I've worked with. So this business, when I started working with them, I've working with them about 3 years now. This is their loyalty rate. And I call a loyal customer is a customer who deals with you 2 times per year and spends a minimum of $400. That's the threshold that we call a loyal customer. And you can see from this graph, we test it every month, and we say, how many people are in the bucket? Well, look at this customer, what this has happened with this shop. So they started in around the 380, 390 range in customer loyalty. And over the course of 3 years, they ran it above 550. Now, this is a huge upswing. So the obvious question is, how does this affect the revenue of the shop? Well, when this shop first started at the beginning, they were around $700,000 per year. And during that time, they grew it. And the business today is at 1.8 million. The business today is at over 20% bottom line earnings. So that means that their earnings are above $400,000 a year. Now, they did a lot more than just engage with their customers. They have to have a good process. They have to have the right staffing, everything like that. But this is one of the key strategies that they have used to connect with customers. And I'm gonna break it down a little bit more on what this really means. And I'm gonna talk about two strategies for creating that emotional attachment where customers connect to your business. The first strategy is called a +1 strategy. And if we can advance the slide here. Now, a +1 strategy is, it's a strategy that big companies use all the time. And we're going to talk more about how they do it. But it's the ability to attain customer intelligence, and to utilize it to personalize the customer experience, leaving the customer to ask, how did they know that? Or how did they do that? And I got those in reverse. But how were they able to do that? A practical one is Starbucks. If you see how Starbucks do it, they have a strategy. When you pick up your coffee, they ask for your name and then they write your name on it. And what they encourage their staff to do is to remember the customer. Now, you can't remember them all because there's a ton of customers coming through, but get in the habit of practicing getting to know the customer's name and remember what they ordered. And I don't know if you've ever had the experience. Amber, have you had the experience of being able to go into a Starbucks?
I drink a lot of Starbucks, so they know my drink and they know my name, but I also think that goes with, what they are creating. It is an experience, and it's really nice to have your name on a cup, it's pretty cool.
It sure is. And they set up their process to get your name. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and that's just, I know we're going to talk about it later, but like when you go through a drive-through at Chick-fil-A, right? They know your name. And the reason they know your name is because they know your car. The first time, those types of things, and it trickles down from from the employee to the employee.
Great. So thank you for bringing up Chick-fil-A, because we're going to talk about them in a little while. And because we can learn from so many industries. So let me tell you a couple of quick little stories about how actually let's pull back from there for just a moment, and we'll go back one slide, and we'll talk about customer intelligence and being able to use it. It may be a simple little thing, like a customer tells you that they missed an appointment today because one of their family members is in hospital. How many times do you then use that intelligence to write a quick little card out and put it in the mail? Okay, because that would be absolutely amazing to them. Or a simple little thing, like they told you last time in that Johnny is going off to college on a football scholarship. Do you then turn around when they come in the next time and you say, oh, by the way, how is Johnny doing on his scholarship? Has he got a chance to play on the field yet? A simple little thing like remembering that intelligence. I want to tell you an experience of one of my clients told me about that they used in the automotive sector. And that was customer came in, first time customer. And the customer came in and said that they were bringing a vehicle in for their wife. I think it was a sports car, and they were bringing it in for a pre-purchase inspection. And if the inspection went well, then the husband was going to gift it to the wife. So there's the intelligence, that you understand that this car is a gift. So the shop went out and purchased a big red bow at Party Packagers, okay, and got it and bought a card also. Now they broke the one rule of a +1 is it shouldn't cost very much money. So maybe they spent $25 on this. They then brought it back to the shop after they knew that the vehicle had passed the pre-purchase inspection, and they brought it back in, and they when the customer came to pick it up, they had a bow on top of the car ready to be picked up that the customer could then take home, put it back on when it gave it to his wife.
Oh, great. even though it breaks the +1, Alan, I think it's hard, right? When we think about random acts of kindness or even these in our businesses, even if it does break the +1 of spending money, like the after effect of that is so profound that you just can't even put it into words.
Exactly. So can you imagine the husband's emotional context of seeing his wife so excited by the extra step that the shop enabled him to do? When he's then thinking about getting that vehicle repaired, where's he going to go? There is only one spot that he's going to go to get that vehicle repaired, because that's the place he has the emotional connection to. So that's the one strategy, is a +1. The second strategy, and let's talk about how you get your +1s. So you don't get them by buying a new Ford vehicle, but you get it from using the acronym of Ford. So F stands for family. Listen for the client to tell you something about their family. Number 2, O, listen for them to tell you something about their occupation. Number 3, let them tell you something about their recreation. What are they doing for recreation these days? Number 4, what are they doing to tell you about their dreams? So imagine that Amber came in and had her vehicle serviced, and she told me in the process of the discussion that she's going to be going to Europe, that COVID's winding down, and she's going to get on an airplane and she's going off to Europe. Imagine if I had a simple little card and I taped a euro into the card, and I said, when you're in Venice and in St. Marco Square, have a cappuccino on me, or an espresso on me. Now, probably not going to pay for it, but it would be a connection where you showed the customer that you are listening to what they said and you care about what they say. It's part of developing that emotional connection to the customer. Okay, any comments on that, Amber?
We don't have any yet. Oops, as it clicks through, super sensitive. No comments yet, so I will keep it posted. But
great. So I want to talk about the second one, and I've got a great story on this one. This is above and beyond. So, and I apologize for my big dog barking in the background. One of the things of working from home, he gets.
I have a yard person here who's blowing the leaves, so I don't know if you can hear that.
So, above and beyond. This is where you take your standard procedures and you go a step further based on the circumstances. So imagine that you're used to vacuuming a car out and wiping the inside down and making it smell nice inside. Maybe you go on to the point in a certain situation where you do an above and beyond and you give the whole car a wash down and a chamois afterwards. Or maybe the situation warrants that you're going to wax the car. Maybe the situation warrants that you're going to deliver the car. But you look for situations where you can go above and beyond. Now, a point is, this is oftentimes how you set your process. That you find that, say for example, in my shop, when I had it, we washed every car inside and out, because we learned that we did it a few times and the response was so powerful with the client that we made it part of our process to do it every time. And when you do it, then the clients start to expect that level. But I want to tell about a situation about an above and beyond. This came out of a tire shop. It was primarily a tire shop, mechanical and tires, but they had road service to do trucks on the highway. And the road service guy was on his way back into town. And when he came into town, he went through a school zone and he noticed that the crossing guard had fallen. And she was sitting on the side of the curb and holding her wrist. And it was there was a number of people around her attending to her. And he realized that the kids were going back and forth and this was a dangerous situation. So he turned around, he pulled up, he flipped on the lights on his big truck, he hopped out, he had his bright colored vest on, and he went over and got the sign and started guiding the kids across the intersection, and just was part of the help. And we don't do this to be recognized, but we do this as part of our culture to be looking for situations where we can go above and beyond.
And Alan, with that too, you and I were talking about this, and in any situation, right? Like those moments don't happen all the time, right? You're not going to get situations like that above and beyond all the time, right? And nor, do you want to have them every single time? But like, I think the big thing here is, and you and I talked about all of these things, the +1 and the above and the beyond. You have to be present, and in that present moment, you can't be thinking about, as a technician, your next car that you're working on, right? Like, to be in the moment right then and there and speaking to the customer as they come in, to be able to hear these moments of, or notice that they're wearing a jersey, right? And the next time they come in, if their team had played, if they won or lost, and you can have a conversation like that. But you're not going to be able to see these moments if you're not present.
Exactly, 100%. Thank you for pointing that out. So let's talk about, I can imagine what you're saying right now. You're saying, these sound like good strategies, but how do you implement them? And furthermore, you don't know my people. And how do I implement this in my shop and put it in place? Well, we're going to talk about, in a few minutes, we're going to talk about some companies that have implemented, companies like Southwest Airlines, companies like Starbucks, we talked about, Chick-fil-A, Lexus. Those companies have been able to do that. So how did they do it? So let's talk about the first strategy, and that's 10-minute huddles in the morning. And here's how I suggest that you start to work on it. That you introduce the topic of above and beyonds and +1s at your first meeting. And then you ask for examples of it. And you might go the first week where at every 10-minute huddle where you ask the question, tell me about a situation where this happened. And you may go 2 weeks and nobody will tell a story. And you're going to have to plant the seed, and you're going to have to tell the stories about situations when you did it. And after a period of time, sorry for my dog, you're going to get a situation where one employee will be brave enough to stand up and say, this was my +1. And the other people in the room are going to say, yeah, that's a +1. I've done better than that. So then the next day they share their story, and we try to they get into a situation where they're trying to do one-upmanship on the other employee over who delivered the best +1. I'm so sorry about my dog.
No, it's okay. No, we're all human, right? I think that's another message that we're here. We're all human. But to say that, right? Like it's like asking, your employees to raise their hand and answer a question, but it's a trickle effect, right? Like once somebody starts it continues to happen. Just like, paying it forward. Somebody in the drive-thru pays for your meal, you pay for the next one. Like it's a continuous effect on your employees that you have through this.
Exactly. And when your employees are actively looking for a situation where they can perform a +1 or they can give above and beyond service, can you imagine how that will affect the experience of your clients? Let's bring up the quote from John DeJulius, and we're going to talk about John in just a moment. But if we can put that quote up on the next slide, Amber.
Yeah. This is one of the. Yeah, go ahead. I know that I'm in this book right now, and I love it. And this was one of my favorite quotes, and I'll let you speak to it. But I just had to say, and before I do that, I do want to say, Alan, we did have somebody else mention something that they do. I have something simple I've done. I have a customer that loves our yellow candies in the candy dish. I put his receipt in the car and have some of his favorite candies in an envelope with his receipt. He reached out and said that he loves the personal touch. I mean, that's wonderful, Amber. No, I love your name too, Amber Jackson. Beautiful name. But that's such a wonderful thing and a simple thing that you can do.
So just listen to, we read that note that Amber Jackson left. And just that simple little connection she made with I love your name, okay? And I saw the smile that came across your face. Are we focused on doing little things like that to try to brighten somebody's day? The best marketing from this quote is a happy, engaged employee. The customers will never be happier than your employees. So if your employees are the benchmark for the experience that your customers are going to receive, and they're jacked about giving the very best experience. Imagine what it will do to your business. Look at that business that we showed before, and what in 3 years what that business had done. So let's ask the question.
Perfect. Sorry, it's a little sensitive today. It's eager to hop up the next one. Jeez, I'm sorry. It is not working as I would want to. Sorry about this, guys.
We're all human, aren't we?
We are human.
You had to deal with my barking dog. So.
Well, so have you ever tried to implement a 10-minute huddle before? So we are getting the results in. And okay, I am going to end the poll and share results on this one. 86% of you have said no, they have not tried to implement a 10-minute huddle.
So this is tough, okay? And if you listen to any of the ongoing webinars and coaching calls and stuff, regularly 10-minute huddles in the morning will come up, and it will be your silver bullet. When you start to implement a 10-minute huddle at 8 o'clock in the morning, and your staff get used to being on time, and this will help deal with them not on time if they're not, because you'll get a chance to talk to your employees. Start it at 8 o'clock and go only for 10 minutes. You're going to talk about what the day has on the go, delivering plus ones. You're going to talk about, is there an equipment problem? It's just going to be really quick. You come together, you work as a team, and then you go. And it helps your shop. So congratulations to those shops that are doing it.
Yeah, well, actually I have another one who came in, and it's not a question. The functionality on David's laptop is different, which, David, I'm having issues today too, obviously, with technology. But this is really nice. He said the Customer Service Revolution by John DeJulius is a great book to help with some of the ideas with Ford that we talked about earlier. They started adding client secret services to pinned notes. They actually use AutoLeap, but they pin it to the notes in the AutoLeap system, which keeps them handy for all staff to use. So that is something that I did want to bring up, for these notes or these things that are happening, make sure that you do have a way that everyone in your shop can see them. So if you're not there, you've had a conversation with somebody and you're not there, make sure that it's notable for somebody else who may take care of them next time. But Data, I love that. Thanks for sharing that. It's awesome.
And you can tell that David is into the book deep, and he's put things in place to get to Secret Service, because Secret Service is the coolest part. Okay, yeah. That's another strategy, but congratulations, David. Good job. So let's go on as to why you would do this. An emotionally engaged customer is 3 times more likely to recommend you. He's 3 times more likely to purchase your products. He's less likely to shop around, and much less price sensitive. So isn't this what we want? Okay. We wonder why some businesses just succeed wildly and some businesses just stagnate. This is a silver bullet in just driving your business through the ceiling. So I strongly recommend you do this. So let's bring the book up that we're going to give away.
Yeah.
That David just talked to. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I love this. And while we're speaking to it, I mean, this book is fantastic. And while going back to the pricing, a quote that John says in his book is basically, most customers don't care about the cost. They're willing to pay for the cost, but what they're not willing to pay for is the customer service that they didn't warrant, right? If they have bad customer service. So it goes back to what, you're emotionally connected on the price.
And let's get out of the practice of just wanting to have satisfied customers and wanting to deliver an experience that no one else can deliver. Nobody can compete with you on your experience that you deliver. And when you're experiencing above and beyond and plus ones, nobody can compete with you. because they just don't know how to do that. Whereas if you've mastered that and you've got everybody on track with that, it makes such a difference. So we're going to give away this book in just a moment. But before we give away that, I'm going to go back to Chick-fil-A. So remember I said, I put the words in your mouth and I said, you don't know my staff and you don't know how difficult it is. Well, imagine running a restaurant chain, okay? And Chick-fil-A has become the third largest restaurant chain in North America. And imagine that you rely on primarily students to offer your service. So how do you engage with them and get them to deliver that experience? And we're going to show a training film it's a 3-minute training film from Chick-fil-A, and it talks about understanding the experience of your customers. And every customer has a story to tell. And when you understand their story, you will tailor the experience to them.
All right. Well, before we do that, do we want to spin the wheel? I'll spin it on my side.
Yeah, why don't we?
All right. So I'm going to spin it. Here we go. So everyone who's on the phone right now. So Ron Cook is the winner of the book.
Way to go, Ron.
And
so what I'll do, Ron, afterwards, I will get your address via email, and I will send that to you.
great. And by the way, we're giving away a $20 gift card for everybody who fills out the survey. You know, you can go on Amazon and you can get this book. And I think it's about 24, 25. What was it for you, Amber, when you bought it?
I got it on my Kindle. My Kindle
okay.
file. I think it was 18. I think it was like.
Okay, so you'll have change left over to buy a coffee.
There you go. There you
Not
go.
at Starbucks, though. Okay.
Definitely not at Starbucks. Yeah, that's for sure. I think you're running like a $2 cup of coffee if you don't get something special.
There we go. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's play the video.
All right. Let me know if you can hear it, since I've had. super sensitive, and that gets me every time I watch it. Every time.
So, I told you a story at the start of this meeting about why I'm in the auto service business and why it's so important. And are we taking the time to listen to the stories, to see the stories of our customers, and then react with personal service based on those situations? And not just us, because it's one thing for us at the front counter, but are we creating a culture within our companies that will be above and beyond and plus ones, where we deliver that amazing emotional experience? So thank you for attending today.
Yes, thank you guys so much. And we do have one more available in Audible as well. So David has, I wonder if David read it or listened to John DeJulius's book in Audible, but it is available there as well if you guys are looking while you're in the car, in the shop, working. So I'm gonna leave it for one more second, see if there's any more questions, but just wanted to let everybody know we did record this. We are going to send the slides and recordings afterwards so that you can listen to this later on as well. Alan, I really appreciate your time today. It was an honor having you. And I think this is also a great message too as we walk into winter times, and we hope to hear stories. Please feel free to email us if you guys start using +1s or above and beyond. We would love to share them. But thank you everybody for joining.
Great. Thank you.